expression of a wide variety of views on this program. However, Now TV does not necessarily share or endorse these points of view.
Should be smoked?
Well, burn it or put it in the landfill or something like that. It makes good compost.
I guess it could go into some type of medical usage or something.
I guess the obvious answer is to smoke it, but that's probably not the correct answer on the news.
Well, I don't know. Send some to Alberta. I don't think we have enough there.
Send some to Alberta. They don't have enough there. Well, hey, they tell us that the marijuana that we are growing here in BC is our largest cash crop right now. Some say it's $1 billion industry, and they're probably not wrong. I have with us tonight Marc Emery, the president of the BC Marijuana Party, David malmo-levine, Levine, I got it right, yeah. Cannabis consultant. When we went to break, you were going to give us an answer about some of the problems that you might see as far as the usage of marijuana with young people.
I would say the abuse of cannabis, because even young people can use it properly. There are two main concerns that I think are legitimate, we should look at seriously, and they are impaired lungs and impaired driving. And the things we can do so that we don't hurt ourselves one is to make sure the cannabis is potent, so you don't have to smoke much of it to get the feeling, and to make sure it's organic, because a lot of the problem with lung cancer and tobacco is that the tobacco is grown in chemical fertilizers, radioactive chemical fertilizers. Now, as for impaired driving, impairment is actually a function of familiarity and dose, and is not an inherent function of getting high. So every time you smoke up, you're not impaired. And actually, the more familiar you are with the activity, the more familiar you are with cannabis, and the more familiar you are with the dose levels and the strain that you're using, the less impaired you are. It's actually a performance-enhancing substance for many people. Keeps them up at night in ways that are safer than caffeine, I'd say, if you're familiar with it, again. So I don't think driving impaired is inherent with cannabis use. We should be testing for impaired driving, not care why people are impaired, be it lack of sleep, prescription medication, whatever, and make sure the cannabis is of high quality, and those concerns are addressed.
What's really scary about this whole situation, as far as I'm concerned, is I sat and watched a movie, and you guys probably saw the same movie, and it was the one about the tobacco industry, where a bunch of people, you know, stood, put their hand on the Bible, and said, smoking cigarettes is non-addictive. And it was a bunch of bull.
Yes, but
they're lying through their teeth.
Exactly.
And I'm sitting here listening to you, and how do I know that what you're putting out on the table is not a whole bunch of self-contained lies, because this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there's a lot of money to be made out of this industry, and a lot of research is being done that is saying the exact opposite to what you're saying.
No, that's not true.
No, it is true.
Actually, if you look at all the commissions, if you look at the Indian Hemp Report 100 years ago, if you look at the Wooten Report, LaGuardia Report, the Schaefer Commission, actually all of the big studies, and the big long-term studies, the Greece, Costa Rica, and Jamaica studies, they all say the same thing.
How about the studies? How about the studies where you sit back? My wife has been the principal of a major high school in Kelowna.
All right.
Okay. She sits in a room with a bunch of people, and the kid comes in, and they're sitting back, and his grades are just drop. She sits back and says, 9 out of 10 times I can sit back and say, when did you start smoking dope?
Even if that's true, there's no reason for anyone to go to jail, though. Even if marijuana is as bad as those people say it is, even if marijuana does make, and I would disagree, by the way. I think.
Well, how can you disagree with that? I mean, it is a situation where the kid's saying, my grades were doing really well, I was doing fairly well in school.
Absolutely, but that might have pointed up the school's terribly boring. I myself didn't finish school. I disliked high school a lot. I have been successful despite that. A disinterest in school is a combination of a lot of things: adolescence, other interests, interest in the opposite sex, interest in experimenting with other substances that seem much more exciting than school. Lots of activities are much more exciting than school, and they coalesce around adolescence. People typically don't, I mean, sitting in a desk all day for 8 hours a day, I mean, I call high schools prisons. They even sound like prisons to me. In fact, if you watch CNN right now, they look like prisons. There's a high school in South Carolina where police officers were pointing guns at students today because they were searching for marijuana, which they didn't find.
Of a world, then, would just sit back and say, let's all just smoke up a little bit and get high and have a great time and just kind of live our life, even though it may it may, as many studies have proven this, not allow you to function at the best of your ability.
Well, I would disagree, but my point is more fundamental. No one should go to jail, even though marijuana might be bad for them. Criminal law isn't there to protect us against bad personal decisions. Criminal law is there to protect us from force, fraud, or violence. And so there's lots of things we can do that are bad for us. We can drink alcohol. We can have lots of it in our house, by the way. And we can take tobacco. We can do dangerous things. We can drive cars quickly. We can take fatty foods in our body. We can live near polluted cities. We can live under hydro wires. We can do lots of things that may endanger our personal health, but no one should go, or do they go to jail for that kind of self-destructive behavior? So as long as we can establish that no one should go to jail for this, then I can discuss with you these health things. But as long as you're using this kind of information as a reason to put people in jail where the same application of your logic wouldn't affect anyone else. In other words, tobacco is bad for you, but no one goes to jail or is in prison. These people make millions of dollars in tobacco. I mean, alcohol people are multimillionaires.
Well, in some ways, you know, and I could argue with you that maybe tobacco should not have been legalized, and if we had any guts, it wouldn't be legalized, and we would take it off the market because it's proven to kill people.
Actually, prohibition is proven to kill people. If you look at the St. Valentine's Day massacres, they weren't a function of drinking alcohol. They were a function of fighting over the marketplace. And if you were to make caffeine illegal, for example, you'd have a whole, or chocolate,
there's a big
you'd have
difference
a whole bunch
between me taking a bottle of booze, and I can go home and have a beer tonight, and it's not for the purpose of getting stoned. I'm not going to get drunk.
No, you're getting relaxed.
But the minute I smoke that marijuana cigarette, the reason I smoke it is to get high, right?
Well,
I mean, let's be real.
Isn't that when people do alcohol?
Alcohol is a relaxant.
Some people do and some people don't. But most people don't drink alcohol. Most people don't drink alcohol to get drunk.
Well, alcohol is a relaxant.
I mean, I don't drink it.
Tobacco,
why would a person
I don't know.
Alcohol is a relaxant. Tobacco is a stimulant. So is caffeine. Cannabis is a stimulant, a relaxant, and a euphoric, like chocolate. Cannabis kind of combines all three of them without the toxicity of any of them. And if you use it properly, it's like caffeine. You can drink a cup of coffee a day, and it won't impair you.
If you use it properly, but
yes.
How many people use it properly?
Well, the reason why
how many people don't use it and then say, hey, I like this high, I'm used to getting high, I wonder what other highs are out there.
That happens in Prohibition, though, because the people who want to buy pot have to buy that marijuana from the same person selling ecstasy, LSD, heroin, cocaine. If it were legal, like as in Amsterdam, you'd only be able to buy marijuana at a marijuana store and no other
You and
drugs.
I both have to agree, though, Mark, that this is a huge industry as far as organized crime is concerned.
Well, it wouldn't be if it was legalized. Again, it would be.
Are they going to let go of
industry.
this, or they're going to find their way just to get involved in it, just like they do in the alcohol and the cigarettes?
And that is who you hear from most often who is opposed to legalization of cannabis. It's the police, the gangs, and the pharmaceutical companies, all of which are making a pretty penny off it being illegal. Because if it was legal, you could supply yourself with your own medicine, be it palliative, curative, preventative medicine, or performance enhancement, whatever kind of medicine you like. But you supply yourself with it, and I think that scares a lot of pharmaceutical companies and also the other people who benefit, which are the narcs and the gang members.
Key thing, even if things are bad for it, they shouldn't be made illegal.
Okay, let's take some phone calls. We could talk all night. We'll take some phone calls. That's what the show's for. John is on the line. Hi, John. How are you tonight?
Hi. I was a Catholic seminarian, and I remember reading about how Jesus was in trouble for hanging out in the tents of the sinners, and I'm wondering if there was maybe pot smoke in those tents, and if him being a healer and someone that used herbs,
where does it say he used herbs, John?
Well, he was a shaman.
I've read the Bible through. I've never,
the anointing oil that they used to take to heal the lepers and the people with epilepsy.
That was an anointing oil.
Exodus
that was not.
Exodus 30:23. If I may finish, Exodus 30:23 actually has the recipe for the anointing oil, and in the old Hebrew and Aramaic it says cannabosum, which is not too far away from cannabis. Now, the reason why people feel that there was cannabis in the anointing oil is because the people who had been possessed by demons
There's a big difference between that and smoking something and putting it on somebody's head and blessing them.
And it was on the temple, all the paraphernalia of the temple, and it was burnt as an offering, and it was put on the tabernacle and spread across everything.
That's an amazing stretch, Dave.
Well, it isn't a stretch. Actually, a lot of
huge stretch.
Actually, a lot of academics have felt the same way.
Thank you, John, for your call. Chris. Hi, Chris.